When most people hear about board games, they say, oh, like Monopoly, like Scrabble, like Uno, because these are the games that we've grown up with. These are the games that are everywhere.
Games like Monopoly and Clue and Risk and Sorry are great games. Were really kind of revolutionary in their time. But what's funny is the dirty little secret is that they're not actually that good. They're way too long, they're way too unbalanced, there's way too much luck driving them.
Back when I was growing up, it was like Clue and Risk and Monopoly and really pretty terrible games. That are not that fun, take a long time to play and are awkward. And now there's games that have so much more to offer.
People didn't really see board games as a thing. They thought it was something kids played, right? Now you don't even have that question anymore. Celebrities play them. They're played in bars and cafeterias and coffee shops everywhere.
Board gaming as an industry overall has grown at about a double-digit pace over the past 7 to 8 years. It's been tremendous growth.
You see them all over the place now, right? Target, Toys R Us, Barnes & Noble, Walmart.
Everyone has their own path. A lot of people in this industry are in it because they're passionate about it. So they're really hobbyists and gamers first, and they create the game that they've always wanted to play.
I think a lot of people play games and they get excited about game design, but really the process is different.
Board game design is hard. Real hard. A lot of people get into it and they're thinking, oh heck, I've played some board games, I know how to do it. Well, you don't.
I'll vote yes if you give me both deuces.
I'm voting yes for this one. Or do you need a purple cube to help you out?
So different get cards, so alright. But you also get points if...
Oh, let's see. I started working on it because a friend of mine came up with the idea. He was like, we should make a MOBA that's a board game because we both like playing League of Legends and all that. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. That was maybe 3 years ago. And then we kind of just let it sit there for a while. Didn't really do anything with it. We couldn't really make it work. And then after a year or two, he said, I don't really have time to work on it. His work was getting crazy, so why don't you go ahead and do it? And I said, okay, I'll see what I can do with it. After another year or so of testing, we got it refined to where it is now, and we think it's in a pretty good spot now. So we're really fine-tuning and we're working out the art and all that kind of stuff at this point. We're working on a timeline for when we're going to put it out. We're looking at different components and production quotes at this point. So the game's design is ready. Yeah. And now it's just a matter of getting all of our logistics in place, getting all of our ducks in a row, and then we can go and put it on Kickstarter. We chose Kickstarter because we don't have the money to independently fund a production run of a game and then go sell it. So we need to get people interested in buying it and to get that money up front so that we can then produce the game and send people the copies they paid for. I played a lot of games as a kid and up through now, obviously, but every time I play a game as a kid, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is really fun. I like this and this, but it wasn't exactly the game that I wanted to play. I wanted to make my own story, so that got me into sort of role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games, and running D&D campaigns and that kind of stuff. And there was that community of shared knowledge, and then I started learning the same thing about sort of game design, like board games and stuff, and putting that into practice with those as well.
Like most of my ideas, it came to me when I was in the shower. I thought, there's got to be some way you can combine a word game with sort of a casual tactical board game. When I thought of that, I immediately thought, oh, well, you could spell out words, and when you think spelling, you think, to me anyway, naturally the idea of spells came to mind. So you spell a word, you spell a spell. I'm trying to make a little diagram. I don't know how effective it is yet. That sort of breaks down the different spells and how they interact. You can have spells and counter spells, and some spells stand alone, and some spells are just counter spells. I've already made some prototypes. I just printed out the name of the monster, a little picture, what its strength was, if it has any spells. They go down here. Giant spider. Very weak monster, a relatively weak monster. It has a strength of 3, but it has a trap spell. It casts a web at you. So Cobweb is the name of the spell, and because Cobweb has 6 letters, it's a trap spell for 6.
I have been gaming for probably about 10 years now. It started off with one game, and now over the past 10 years my collection has grown and grown to the point where I have an entire room in my house dedicated to it. I got into game design back in 2016, so about 2 years ago, and it all started on a whim. I attended a local prototype event, and they had a ton of resources there, and I had an idea, and I put the game together, and I ended up pitching it that night, and it got picked up by a publisher. It was kind of crazy, actually, that happened like that, and it was kind of exciting, so I kept going with it, and I have a book full of ideas that I just have started prototyping on the paper, and over the past 2 years it's kind of just blown up. Over the past 2 years my games haven't been on the lighter side. They've been always strategic because I like strategy in games. I'm not a huge fan of luck, so even if it's a lighter style game, it's still been pretty strategic.
Yeah, so I used to play a lot of board games at my grandmother's house. They kept all the games in this giant cabinet they called the safe, because they used to have to lock it up so that little kids wouldn't get in there. So there's always board games around, but they're often scattered and incomplete, and often we didn't know the rules, and we just kind of made stuff up. I always loved games, but I did spend a lot of time playing awful board games like mass market stuff. I remember one distinctly that was based on Space Invaders. And you basically rolled a die, you moved your little spaceship, it shot, and there was no decisions whatsoever. I thought this game was terrible. So I spent some time with my uncle, actually. We took the board, flipped it over, and designed a better game on the back. And I can recount a number of cases where it was just sort of like, this game's awful, what can we do to make it better? All right, let's see if I can find him. It's a bit tight. I think they're over here. So this is where all the prototypes go to die. I think these have all been published. This is the bin of the old stuff. So let's see what we find in here. Alright, hopefully this won't smell too bad. This is an old box. This is Dice of the Ancients. There's nothing in there, but that was the first roll through the ages. This is a game called Quest of the Nine Orbs. This is a game I did, I think I was probably a freshman in high school, and I did it with some friends. And my uncle Pat helped do a lot of the artwork in it. Some of the artwork's actually really nice, you know, for just a game that we sketched together. It's fun to look back at this because it was fun making games with my uncle Pat. He really encouraged me to do that kind of thing, and it was just sort of like what you did, you know. Of course you make games. So I started working on a game called Lunatic's Loop when I think I was just out of high school and into college, and I wanted to recapture the excitement of racing that I got from the game Daytona 500, but also have like machine guns and oil and all the kind of Mad Max tropes thrown in there as well. I think I probably spent 10 years on that game over the kind of like the formative game design years. This is one of the few remaining Lunatic's Loop sets. And it all came off the printer, so you got these kind of crappy cards on business card stock that you were encouraged to punch yourself. And some chips and stickers so you could make your own components. It brings back some memories of just the memories of doing all the paste up and the smells of spray mount and things like that before I had a lot of sticker paper, and yeah, I just conjured back some old thoughts.
Unpub is the Unpublished Board Games Network. This is the network for game designers to get together with other game designers, publishers, playtesters, and playtest their games.
You guys are doing your playtesting tomorrow. I highly recommend that as you have playtesters there, talk to them and find like, well, what kind of games do you like regularly? And what kind of things do you play? And what do you like about those games? What do you don't like about those games?
So don't worry if it's not working. Don't worry if you played here and something doesn't work and you thought you fixed it and it's still not working. That is just all part of like what it takes to make a good game. And so I just want you to acknowledge where you are is further than you probably thought you were, maybe.
Bring my games, test them, and get feedback from other designers, which is great, and then feedback from the general public.
Where else can you go anywhere in the world where you can just sit in a room for 2 days and people just come to you and say, please let me play your game? I know that it's probably broken. I'm okay with that. I want to help you make it better. It's an incredible opportunity.
We obviously want to get the word out about the game, get people to play it, and get a little bit of a buzz going about it if people really like it. But Unpub is really a playtesting convention, so obviously we're also here to playtest and see how the game works.
this is a room full of game designers, so we're going to get some feedback that we probably wouldn't get from people that are less familiar with the process.
Creates a sort of successful experience that you can't get any other way. I don't have any games like this. I don't know of any games I could buy that do this.
I would say it's an advanced version of chess. Very, very advanced. But I felt like it was really, really enjoyable. And just a really good experience overall.
I think it's going great. We had a really good reception, a lot of great feedback. I think we're getting a pretty good sense for the minor changes that are left to make. Not a whole lot left needs to change, but a little bit. Yeah, if you're interested in putting it down, just let me get your name and email right there, and we'll add you to the list.
So I'm pretty close to having all the cards that I need. I have the beasts. I now have the relics. The fates are next, which are the cards that tell each player their particular goal. Are you gonna help me, Chimney? So I hope that out of the playtest, I get a sense of if this game is fun. My intuition is that making words and using them as spells is gonna be fun. I think the idea is good. I don't know if I executed correctly on it because there's a lot of things that could go wrong. Honestly, if I can't make a game right out of the gate that people think that the average person thinks is fun, that's going to be very discouraging. Maybe the game designers can tell me how I can tweak it one way or the other, but I will feel less confident that the end result will be some combination of fun and what I had envisioned.
So I don't do board game design as a full-time job, unfortunately. But I do have a really cool daytime job. I work in my own company, actually. I have a small tech company with my husband. I love it. I get to work from home, which is great. So if I'm having inspiration about a game, I can just stop what I'm doing and go work on a game. The fact that I know how to do graphic design, I think, is super valuable. Publishers look at tons of games a day at a convention, and there's a lot of competition. So although if you have a good game with good mechanics and it's solid and well played and developed, you're probably going to have a publisher look at it. But I think it helps if you also have a vision for the game. Especially if you have a vision of what you want the game to look like, or what the theme, if you're really into theme and when you make a game you spend a lot of time working on the theme, I think it helps if you can portray that.
So my name is Antoine Boza and I'm a game designer for about 10 years now. So usually all game designers work alone in their house because it's kind of a solo job, and sometimes you're just alone with your prototype for maybe 6 months before you start to play testing it with other people. So the main goal here was to reduce this time when you are alone and try to have some synergy and try to have a place and people always available. I can spend a lot of time, writing rules or imagining a new design. I don't know if it's working. I don't know if it's great until I played it. So the goal is the more people we got here at the same place, the more occasion we have to play test and to see if the game is good, working, and everything.
Usually I like to make the prototype as quick as I can. So if I have a new game idea, I don't want to run it into my mind for long. I like to make a prototype and playtest it right on the spot. And this way I can know really fast if the idea is good, if the prototype can work or not. We bought a 3D printer maybe 2 years ago, and it's really the magic tool for us because we can make any component we need in the right size and the right colors, and we can make many of them if we need to make many copies of the prototype, for example.
Well, the first Kickstarter, turns out we didn't quite make it. It was real slow there in the middle, and then we got a surge at the end, but it wasn't quite enough to put us over the top. We got to like 88%, and it was a bit heartbreaking not to get the whole way, but at the same time, the goal we set was the goal that we needed to produce sort of the minimum possible version of the game. Well, when the Kickstarter finished and we did come up short, it was pretty frustrating, a little disappointing. People had some feedback about a few things. I think our graphic design wasn't up to snuff. We tried to do it ourselves. That didn't quite get the look that we wanted, the professional look we needed. We could have done a better job with publicity. a lot of things went right, but we clearly had room to improve. When I see other people's games, I wonder what they did to make it so successful, how they managed to get all this awesome art and great components into a box for this amount of money. And I think about how difficult it is to get that done. So there is quite a bit of admiration there for folks that can publish these really successful games. The whole process has definitely been overwhelming at times.
It's a whole separate skill to get a game funded on Kickstarter than to make a game. And I think a lot of people confuse the two of those. Like, I made a great game, come buy it. It's not going to work.
And Kickstarter is this, I don't need any funding, I don't need any experience, I can just put my dream out there and then it will happen. Of course it will not, because we have hundreds of thousands of games out there. We have also many Kickstarter projects, some of them fail, some of them succeed.
Suddenly there's thousands and thousands of new products that you're competing with. So at the same time it lets you in, but it also lets thousands of other players in, and the market becomes saturated. So that creates a situation where how do you get your attention for your game? How do you rise above the noise?
I'm trying different things.
Okay.
So I want to see which one you guys think is the most clear so far. With binoculars, you can see these guys.
Okay,
Yes.
oh, so I can see them. So I want to use it to see Megan
Okay.
and attack her.
Sure. So you would cast binocular.
Okay, I cast binocular at you and I see all your people. Okay.
Actually, oh, sorry. We played that wrong. You can only use hide. You can only use binoculars when you're actually on the space. So you can't use it to see her guys before
Okay.
you get on the space.
But since I know that she has I mean, hide, and I she know can that I have actually- that, like, I the can thing is actually she can see actually them. see
Yeah,
So I know
but
that since-
but you can't attack them yet, right?
Yeah, but I can still notice in 6 guys there because I can see that she has no spells available.
So why does the game have the monsters? That's the part that seems maybe a little bit over complex to me. Just so you can't effortlessly take spaces at the beginning. Okay, fair enough.
Yes. And also they're reused in.
Well, yeah, but you could have them for that without having to.
I am open to getting rid of them if it makes the game more complex.
I'm just thinking about it.
Well, so wait. So maybe I think there's sort of a general thing of too many pieces on the boards, basically too many things.
Yeah, there's just a lot of different pieces, and I would get, I don't know. But again, you know me. I mean, I'm not claiming that this is necessarily an indictment of the game.
No, but you're saying that it seems complex.
It does seem complex.
I would agree. I think there are a lot of elements to it. So either less spells or there are only certain spells that she can cast and only certain spells that I can cast, and there's something to determine. I don't know. Because otherwise, I just don't think you're going to get to many of the spells throughout the game.
Alright, so there's plenty that's bad about this game.
I have actually started learning German recently. It's something that I wanted to do for a couple years, but I finally started. It is something I think might actually come in useful in life in general, but also in board gaming. Ja, kannst du mir bitte ein Glas Wasser geben? I've been going to Germany every year since 2014. So it'd be nice to learn the language so I could not only communicate with my friends over there, but also with some of the industry professionals. Germany is the kind of mecca for board game design in general. So many great games come out of Germany and German designers. So that's my goal right now, is to spend the next couple years learning German and eventually be able to pitch games in German. And I'm actually thinking about moving there in a couple years and seeing what it's like to work in the industry in Germany.
In 1989, I decided to go out of my job and do only games. I spoke with my wife and she agreed. So I was the first game designer in Germany which lived from making games.
Of course, it started with the German games and later with the Euro games, with these games with wooden pieces, cube pushing games, victory points, scoring, optimizing games.
Is more tradition of gaming in German families than abroad. I remember from my family and from many other families as well, people sat together in winter times in the evening and played games with each other.
There are always these seminal games that drive the next wave of the explosion of the game industry. Settlers of Catan, for example, came along and kind of revolutionized the idea of board gaming.
Settlers of Catan exploded. It went all over the world, it hit America, and suddenly people said, what are these games, these German games?
We all loved them and we wanted to make them, all of us American game designers. We wanted to be like our European heroes that had made games that families loved but still were deep and strategic.
Suddenly there was this revolution of game design in board games to games that were less luck oriented and more driven by actual decision making.
The whole industry, Europe and America and everywhere else in the world, kind of came together in the last couple decades, and just this sort of zeitgeist of different game types and mechanics just exploded in the last 2 decades.
And so for people who are seeking deeper interaction with the game and with the players at the table, I think the hobby realm offers a lot more than your standard classic games.
I worked with Tom Lehman, I think, back in 2009. And we've been working together ever since. It's really great because he brings a complementary set of skills. He's great at balance and ideation and writing and things like that that help complement what I bring to the table. And since then, I've worked with a bunch of other co-designers, probably at least a half a dozen, maybe more. So Pandemic is a cooperative game where you and your fellow players are all working together to try to save the world from 4 deadly diseases that are going to wipe out humanity. The base game came out in 2008, so about 10 years ago, and followed that up about a couple years later with an expansion called On the Brink, which is really successful. We sold a lot of those. And that was followed by In the Lab and then State of Emergency. I also do a series of games called the Pandemic Survival Series, and this is a series of Pandemic standalone games which take place at different parts of the world. So we did one in Iberia, so Pandemic Iberia, I've got one in the Netherlands, which is Pandemic Rising Tide, and I've got another one coming out this fall called Pandemic Fall of Rome, which will be set in Italy. And then there's the Pandemic Legacy series. So we've got a season 1, a season 2, and we're working on a season 3. So it keeps me pretty busy because we're doing, 2 or 3 Pandemic products each year.
I'm very fond of Japan, and I use Japan in a lot of my design, just like in Takenoko, in Hanabi, and other games like Samurai Spirit. They all took stuff from Japan. And Tokaido was kind of a payback. I wanted to give back to Japan because I took a lot from Japan. I wasn't sure for Tokaido because the playing experience is really special. It's all about the journey. I wasn't sure, and lots of people came to me and say, "We love that game, and we love that game because it's about making a journey and not because about playing a game and having a competition with other players. And we don't care at the end if we lose or if we win the game. We just had fun because we made that journey, and that journey was fantastic." I see board games just like stories. So stories are universal. Everybody loves to hear stories, and depending on the culture, there's different kind of stories. But the main thing is the same. We like stories, and I think on the same, we like playing. So I think it's very similar. And that's why when I design, I'm trying to tell stories, because I know there will be people who want to hear stories. So on the same, I think there will be people who want to play some games.
After the first Kickstarter didn't make it, we got a lot of feedback from our backers and from people that had seen the campaign and decided not to back. Basically, the game still looked like a prototype, so backers in their minds didn't think, hey, this is a finished game. This is a product that I'm going to get. They thought, this is still a prototype. We've hired a graphic designer to put a bit more of a professional touch on the game, changing some of the layout, making all of the assets look a little bit better, showing the people a little bit more what they're going to get. We're putting in a lot of our own money, and this is really sort of a last-ditch effort for us to get the game done, get it made.
How will you feel if the Kickstarter doesn't fund for the second time?
Well, that would be that'd be a kick in the butt, certainly. I would be. It's hard to say. I'd probably be pretty disappointed. In fact, very disappointed. I've sunk a lot of my time and energy, heart and soul into the game over the last couple of years. I don't think it would be the end for Battle for Bretonnia, but it would definitely mean a change in direction. We'd probably have to look at other ways to get it made. Yeah, I'm really excited about the new look of the game too. So it's gonna be great, but we've definitely put a lot into it. It's a lot of time, a lot of heated discussions about what needs to change, but I think we're going in the right direction.
I have mixed feelings about that playtest. I thought I had gotten the game to a point where it was easily understandable and easily playable and fun. And I think I'd failed on all of those counts. One of the things I'm struggling with this game is the control freakiness of my own control issues, of frustration when people don't understand the rules that I've put in place or don't agree with them. They say, which is perfectly reasonable, hey, how about if you did it this way? That's exactly the sort of thing that I would do if I were playtesting something with somebody. It's frustrating because I'm like, yeah, but I've already done this other thing. So going back to first principles, it's just frustrating. Struggling to find the core of the game right now. That's what I'm doing, is struggling to find the core. And so that frustration at not being able to define the game yet is part of what the stress comes from. Having to reinvent things every time, it just feels like one step forward, 2 steps back.
So yeah, it is a bit stressful because you're hoping because it all works in your head. You see, it's like, oh, I've got this great idea, and it all works in your head, and you put it down. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't work in reality.
It's hard to make a game. And the first time you do it, you don't realize how much is going to change. That it'll probably be very different from where you started, even from when you say, I'm finished, I made a game. It's probably going to change a lot. And since you don't know that, I think it's tempting to feel like criticism is, yes, but you don't know the game I'm trying to make.
There's no point in standing up and saying, no, this is not the case, I'll explain to you why it should be this. You cannot do that afterwards when the game is published and the people open the box. So you need to make sure that you take all these considerations into account. And that very often means that you have to be realistic.
Games have to be ground up and torn apart by wolves and put back together several times before they reach kind of a form that is as good as you can make them, and that process can take weeks, months, years, depending on the game.
And I think that is definitely a falling point of newer designers when they're unable to make changes in their games because they have this firm belief that's really not panning out in the data that a thing that they're doing is essential to the design of the game. Whereas if they just kind of let it go and understood that it's really not serving the game, that their game would actually improve.
Chibi Quest is a semi-cooperative game for 1 to 6 players where you take on the role of a chibi character, which is a cute, small, little person, and you equip them with armor and you go out and fight monsters to protect your village. It's a family game that you can play with kids as young as 6 and 7, but I also play it with adults all the time. So it's one of those games that not only a kid can have fun playing, but also a grown person. So I think that's a little different when you play family games. Sometimes the kids are really enjoying it, but the parents are bored, not interested, playing it just to spend time with their kids. Whereas I've noticed when I've been playtesting Chibi Quest with families, the adults are just as into it as the kids are. Essen is a place in Germany where they hold conventions, and one of the biggest, maybe even the biggest board game convention in the world is held there at their convention center. And my goal this year is to bring all the games that I've polished and pitch them to publishers there. One of the games I am going to pitch there is Chibi Quest, and I've kind of been looking at different publishers to see where that game would fit best. There are so many publishers, and if you go to Essen, it's a little overwhelming. There are publishers you didn't even know about that are super popular over there, but maybe not as popular over here. So trying to really research that is a little bit of a kludge sometimes, trying to figure out who does what and where it can fit in. So that's kind of an interesting process. Right now I'm just researching publishers and seeing where Chibi Quest could fit.
I'm currently working on a number of different Pandemic products. For Fall of Rome, the design brief was basically a Pandemic game that's somehow tied to Italy. It could be Italy kind of climbing out of the plague. It could be barbarians invading Rome, that sort of thing. So I found my co-designer Paolo Mori, and he was very excited about Barbarians. So I was all over that because that counts for a tremendous amount. So when I'm starting a game, initially, sometimes I don't really know what I'm doing. I'll have a rough sketch and a pretty raw prototype. And what you really need to do is just kind of goof off and fool around, and it's like a sandboxy kind of experimental space. Once that kind of gels, then I'll often play the game by myself just until I can kind of figure out the complete design. Right now I'm resolving the 4th revolt and hoping that one of these 3 cities doesn't get sacked. I'm about to make an alliance with the Ostrogoths, which is good, but it's going to take a while to get an alliance with the Vandals. We had an idea of having barbarian tribes migrating into Rome, and you trying to kind of push them away. And so instead of trying to cure 4 diseases, you're basically trying to create alliances with these different tribes. Oh, that's cool. You go there, pick up the card, recruit, go to Rome. It's your area, you can do that, it's fine. 1, 2, 3. And then 4. Okay, so it's all about kind of mitigating risk and trying to figure out, can I lunge here and try to grab a victory before everything falls apart. So I know things are working when my heart starts to beat a little fast. It's difficult to get a new game noticed. It's not enough just to put my name on it. I was fortunate enough to learn that early on. It's really about getting a quality product at the right time that speaks to an audience, and so I do enjoy experimenting there. It's very exciting to try new products, but I have no illusions. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of luck to get another game as successful as Pandemic has been. This October in Lucca, Italy, there's this massive game and comic show that takes over the entire town. And we're going to be doing the Pandemic Survival World Championship there, and I'll be there kind of like being at large. We'll also release Pandemic Fall of Rome at the event, so it'll be a lot of fun. A lot of Pandemic players from around the world will converge there, have their competition, and we'll have a new Pandemic product to show off.
There's the whole idea. In the beginning was the word, and sort of linguistic human sets humans apart from earlier humans and from animals to some degree. So I want the whole idea to be that word is the magic. So I want word to be central, and I think that works well here. And I think that word spells should work equally well against the air, earth, fire, and water, but they should also be vulnerable to them.
So I rethought it, and I just came up with a rough diagram. So spells fall into 5 categories: earth, air, fire, water, and word. So why don't we play a small game? You attack for 5, took away 2 of those. That's that. So that's 2. Then you attacked for 3, so took away 3. So right here, right, we've got earth spells fully counter water spells. Do y'all think that we should make it so that they can either use their spell or the physical attack?
The monsters, you mean?
Everybody, right? Do you want to be able to use your physical attack and your spell, or do you just want to be able to one or the other? Do you have any ideas or thoughts that occurred to you that you didn't say during the gameplay that you think, oh, well, maybe we should do this or that or something like that? Is there basically, do you have any feedback or thoughts or anything, any kind of feedback on the game?
No ideas.
So this version of the game, first off, obviously is simpler, right? Does it seem too simple, or does it seem like the right level of complexity?
I think this is pretty good. Yeah.
Obviously, we need to lock down
the
structure.
Yeah, no, in terms of gameplay, this seems pretty good.
But I actually feel like at this point we could actually, before I never felt we could finish the game,
Yeah,
right?
I
never
totally
felt,
think we could.
I think we could actually finish the game now.
Yeah.
I think one of the temptations when you're a new game designer is to only play games with friends or people who know you and give unintentionally or intentionally positive feedback. They want you to succeed. Everyone wants you to succeed, so they don't really criticize.
Sometimes good friends are not good friends because they don't tell you the truth. If your game is bad and your friends say, oh yeah, it's fine what you're doing there, they do not help you. Yeah.
It does not help if you continuously play this game with your grandmother and say, this is the favorite game between my grandmother and myself. It's not relevant.
No, you should be playing with people who can make value judgments about what it is you're working on. And it is quite difficult, actually, to find good playtesters. Because the first thing you have to do is find out whether the thing's going to work at all. And very often the game will fall apart the first time you play it. So first of all, you use your local group to get the design to a certain point where it's holding together, and then at that point you should be going off to conventions and other groups and playtesting with a wider range of people.
The Kickstarter was an interesting experience, to say the least. It was really cool to see how many people were excited about the game, but of course it wasn't great to come up short. If I had to pick, I'd rather it go this way, to come close the first time and then hopefully blow the goal out of the water the second time and really be able to bring everybody a great product. We're doing a lot to get ready for the next Kickstarter launch. One of the things is going to the cons and getting the game in front of people. One of the big challenges is getting the word about the game out to a wider audience. And if you're getting somebody from, I don't know, Seattle or Chicago or something excited about the game, that's somebody that wouldn't have seen it otherwise, most likely. There's so much content out there that it's hard to get people to see yours. So when you can really get in front of somebody from far away, face to face, it's really helpful. first Kickstarter, the game really wasn't the problem. People liked the game, and in fact, a lot of commenters were on the page were saying, this game is great. How come I've never heard of it? You spread the virus around, get one person infected with loving the game, and hopefully they'll tell their friends about it, and their friends will tell their friends about it, and you'll get the word out there. So we're absolutely not sitting still waiting for the date. We're all busy, all hands, on deck, trying to get this thing up and running.
So board game designers, I believe it is a big part of their job, and an important part of their job, to attend board game conventions.
It's important for game designers to such big conventions, but because it's a first chance to get in contact with the companies, and it's an easy chance.
Doing conventions, at least from my perspective, from my experience, for a game designer is the bread and butter. It is where we network with other people in the industry, have meetings, talk to publishers, and everything else. But also, it's really important to connect with fans.
You get to test market your game, you get to play it in front of players, get a lot of feedback, and theoretically generate excitement too.
Game convention, there's hundreds of them, some huge, like this one in Germany where there's 60, 80,000. There's so many people that you can't really walk.
So when I go on a convention, there is two big parts. There is the professional part, or I see publishers and artists and sometimes distributors, but mainly publishers. when there was the audience, the players were here, and with them talk with the present or sometimes the past if it's an old game. And again, it's all about the people, because I met a lot of very good people who just play my game, and we become friends after all because we match on a few things. We are a profession that nobody knows about, and we think it's important that people know there are game and player knows there are designer behind the game.
Right now, I am at Essenspiel 2018, and I'm about to go pitch some of my games. I have a meeting today with AEG, and I also have a meeting with Cosmos. My ultimate goal meeting with publishers, of course, would be to find a home for my game and to get it published. I think every meeting is probably different, and I've done a few meetings before, so this isn't like my first time. But I do find that it's very different when you meet different publishers. They have different processes, so I don't really know what to expect. Basically, in this game, it sort of plays out a little bit like a video game, where you start as a character, and you equip your character with a bunch of armor, and you go out and fight monsters, and it ends in a big boss fight. Okay. My goal with this game was so many kids are playing video games. I wanted to make a board game that they could sit down and play and enjoy, but also their parents wouldn't be bored with. It's a good game, it's a lot of fun, and I'm trying to, now that I have it released back to me, which was a long process, now I'm trying to find a home for it.
Okay, that's a great pitch. We are going to get serious about sort of going through all the pitch games. This one will definitely make the mix for the conversation about whether we think it will work for what we're doing. Its hurdle is probably going to be the sort of the age bracket that I feel like it's pushing towards. We've done a few family children's games trying to break into that, and we've yet to have a hit. If you could email us a copy of the rules, right? I'll obviously remember this meeting. We'll go through all the potential games, and then we'll bring you back and let you know if we want to get you stuff for a prototype. All right? Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It was nice meeting you both.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
So we're here at Lucca. This is the World Championship Pandemic Survival Tournament. It's actually happening right now. The final tournament will be tomorrow morning, and right now they're doing the semifinals. The reception's been great. There's a really big booth here, and the crowd's very enthusiastic. Met with a lot of people who have come up and talked about how the game really brought them into the hobby, and so it's been really fun to meet all the fans. I still haven't gotten used to people chasing me down the hallway asking for a signature. I needed to get away from the booth yesterday, and it was really difficult because they kept asking, one after another for a signature. so when I get to a show and see how emotionally invested people are, it's really gratifying. So it's been fun to bring Fall of Rome here to Lucca in Italy and see people's reactions because it's a game for this place. This is the cradle of the Roman civilization, and people are like, yeah, this is great. This is our game. What I've heard so far is that the mechanical differences are interesting. There's barbarians flowing into the map, and there's battles and battle dice and all that kind of stuff. So I think people are really getting into that, and they also appreciate the fact that we spent some time on the thematic aspects as well, the artwork and even the Latin on the event cards. I've done other games in other countries, and it's always wonderful being able to bring it to the host country and play it. I'm always surprised by how much enthusiasm there still is in Pandemic and all the different Pandemic products. Coming to this booth, it seems bigger than ever, and I'm going to keep working on it as long as I'm getting something out of it, enjoying it, and as long as there's an audience that's enthusiastic about the products. It still feels surreal, like I won some sort of lottery when I see the game so prominently featured when I come into the hall, and so much attention being brought to it. There's so many products out there, so I feel like I was kind of like in the right time, in the right place, the right product, and it just kind of took off from there. Well, the industry right now is growing, and it continues to grow, and we're all kind of wondering how long is this momentum going to continue. There's a flood of product, so I think there's some nervousness as to, is there going to be some sort of massive expansion and then a collapse, or what? It's going to be kind of an interesting ride to see how the game industry changes over time, and whether or not it'll continue to be as successful as it has been.
My initial impulse was just to create the whole game as it occurred to me, stepping out of the shower, boom, the whole thing's complete in my head, now I just have to make it real. I have realized over the course of several iterations of trying to make this game that doesn't work. My big vision may be coherent in my mind, but it's not necessarily the thing that needs to be put out into the world. the game as I envisioned it and the game that's going to be produced at the end are not the same game. Making the game is not about me, it's about the game. It's not about me showing how clever I am and how in this huge world I can create. It's about me making something that other people can control and own and find fun. It's really, it's making the product the important thing and not my ego going into the thing, the important thing.
So one of the things you do when you are designers and when you have people playing over your game, one big part of the job is to be able to look and to hear and to feel what people are experiencing when they are playing your game. You're not creating the moments because the player will create their moments. It's just like you're giving away the tool to do that. You provide a very, very powerful tool that allows people to experiment something which is unique. I want to have this moment, this very moment, which is very, which is in a space and time. It's very clear. It's just now, and usually it's with people you know, and this is very precious, I think, for me. So I don't care about the game at the end, which is very weird because I'm making games, and I'm here to say that I don't care about the game I play because it's all about the people, I think. You see people enjoying, laughing around the table where there is your game. This is very rich. This is the best thing you can get when you do a game. But this is the moment usually you get excited again. And sometimes you have this feeling that something happened when the player are playing your game, and this is the second time you get excited because, oh, I thought I had something and now I know I had something.
There's nothing better in the world than designing something you have thought of, sit at the table, people playing it and have fun with that. It's so satisfying to see that the own idea works, that the own idea is a game people like. It's really cool.
You know, for me, it's always about the people that play the game. Yeah, when I see the players that enjoyed the game and love the game. That tells me this work has a purpose.
Blue does. I did. Okay.
Since Essen, I have good news and some not so great news. The game I pitched at Essen was Chibi Quest, and I found out that I probably didn't pitch it to the right two companies, which is kind of still a learning process for me, figuring out which companies need what games, and that's like a big obstacle. So I didn't quite have any success from the 2 meetings I set up at Essen. Since Essen, I did sign a game with Rio Grande, so I'm really excited about that. I think they're keeping the same title, so it's called Musical Chairs. It's a strategic game where players are positioning themselves around a board to score the best chairs and get the most points. It's a really neat game with a whimsical theme. It's been a really awesome project to work with them on. And just the fact that I have another game coming out is just really cool. A little bit read up on the leader. I love being a designer. I've only been doing it for a couple years now, and so far the process has just been amazing, getting to meet all these really cool people and taking games that I've worked on and seeing people play them. It's really, really cool. I have a lot of ideas and I want to keep making them. And not only is it, of course, really neat to see people play your games, but it's a lot of fun to just make them, to sit down and put ideas to a board game. It's a lot of fun.
You get 2, or you always get.
The middle has been a bit trying, as it always is, because it slows way down when you get to the middle. It's been such a long time that this has been a work in progress. But it feels pretty amazing. It feels amazing to have the game finally funded, to finally be able to have a published game under my belt. It has been a lot of effort and time, but now seeing it start to pay off, it's definitely worth it. Now I know that there will be a point where I can just say this is done and this is my game and you can go buy it at the store, and it's going to be pretty incredible.
Why do we play games? Not because we have to and it's a burden, it's because we want to. And because we want to, that means it's fascinating to us. That means the theme, the mechanism, the environment, the challenges, that is something that inspires us, that draws us in.
Do not ignore the power that board games can have, because ultimately it's all about people. It's not about the board game. The board game is a means to an end, and that end is friendship, inclusivity, and understanding one another. And I think board games are one of the best ways for us to do that, to come together, to talk, to understand each other, to understand different cultures. I cannot think of something else that destroys those barriers better than sitting around a card game and chatting with one another.
And so, I don't know. I think it's gotten to be quite important. I think that that there are real things that board games do that no other type of game can do, and we've changed society because of it, I think.